You need to be obsessed. There's that. It's like you need to be obsessed with it. Like, otherwise you'll never make it. I think when you get to tough moments, you need to absolutely love what you do.
Hey everyone, welcome to our podcast, The Bold Tackle. We are your hosts, Sophie Howard and Oliver Howard, and we are ready to tackle bold topics in sport,
highlight the women's football industry,
and speak about the unspoken.
If you are ready to get an insight into what really goes on behind the scenes, join us on our journey and listening
to The Bold Tackle. Hi, welcome back to a new episode of our podcast, The Bold Tackle. Hi, Soph, lovely to have you here. And for a long time, we haven't had 3 people in the call, but we have a guest today again. Who do we have here?
Do you know what? I've been waiting for this for a long time. I'm so excited about this one. We've got one of my close friends, Christie. I have to say Harrison-Murray now. It's so normal for me to say Christie Murray, but Christie Harrison-Murray, as I said, one of my really good friends, my Scotland roomie.
Yeah.
Since day one.
Since day one, absolutely. Christie, how are you?
I'm good. I'm very honoured to be on your podcast. I love listening to them and just podcasts in general as well. So really excited to be on with you both.
Why I've been waiting so long is finally I'm introducing my 2 life mentors. You probably don't even know, and this sounds massive, but both of you have had such an impact on my life so far. So I'm so glad to make that introduction. But Christie, let's start with you. You currently play for Birmingham, but this is not where you started playing football. Give us a little update. Where did you start, and what were all your stops within your journey to make it to Birmingham?
So I started playing when I was like really young with my brother, just in the streets. I started playing in my school team when I was about 10. And I actually wasn't allowed to play initially with the headmaster. He would say I was too small. So he actually broke his leg, and then a female headmistress came in and was like, if she's good enough, she's old enough. So from then on, I kind of had the confidence to like play, because it was all boys. There was no other girls that played. And one of my teachers took me to a local club just to kind of see what it was like in girls football. I then joined a local team when I was 12. And I stayed with them right up until I was 16. That was Baillieston, which was a local club. And I'm still friends with the people that I played with then. So
And that was boys?
That was girls. That was girls, which was quite unusual as well, back then as well. So, yeah, it was great. So many amazing memories, just with the same people, and just really kind of humble in a way. There would be nights where it would be just dads taking training. It would be too dark, and they'd be putting their car lights on at night time so that we could see getting to train. And then when I was 16, I had kind of broke into the national team at that point, and I had went away with under 17 Scotland, and I'd got scouted to go away to America on a scholarship. So I'd just turned 16 at the time. So I'd done my school kind of qualifications and my standard grades, as well as doing my SATs, which were absolutely horrific. And then at that point, because it's a different schooling system, so I did that, went to America. I went to Tennessee I was supposed to go out for the 4 years, but I ended up only staying for 1 semester, which was just the football kind of like 6 months, which was amazing. At that point, that was the dream, to go and play in America, because there wasn't a professional league, and that was as close to it as possible. Similar to what you did as well, Soph, didn't you? So, and then I came back, and Scotland also wouldn't let me play with the youth national teams. So it was one or the other. So I took the risk, went away, learned what it was to be a good professional, because they know how to be good athletes in America. And then I came back, joined Queen's Park for maybe 6 to 8 months, and then I joined Celtic. I was there for 3 years. Joined the National Performance Centre for Scotland, which was for kind of talented players coming through that were trying to break into the first team. As well as combining my studies. So I did a degree at Stirling University and trained in the mornings. So we'd train like 3 mornings a week at 7 o'clock in the morning, go to class, go and do strength and conditioning, go to class again or eat, then travel to Glasgow. And I trained 4 nights a week in Glasgow. So I got back about 11 o'clock at night and repeated that cycle for like 3 years. which is wild to think about it now because I was injured so often, and it obviously makes sense. And in between that time, I had left Celtic and joined Glasgow City, who were the best team in Scotland at that point. I wanted to play Champions League, so I was there for 3 years. And then from then on, I kind of went to play in England. I played for Arsenal for a year, Bristol City now. It was Bristol Academy then, Doncaster, Liverpool and Birmingham City. So, and I had a couple of short bouts between Celtic and Glasgow City as well, between contracts. So,
You've changed teams a lot during your career. Why did you make all those switches?
To be honest, that if I could have stayed at a club for a longer period, I probably would have. I think the short contracts at that point in time, it was all 1 year contracts. My first season at Arsenal, I could have signed 2 years, but I signed a year because I felt like it was my first move kind of to professional kind of football. And it was just kind of to protect myself in the sense that maybe if it didn't work out as well as I'd hoped or whatever, it just kind of gave me the freedom to see what happened. And I didn't really play as much as I would have liked. And some of the best players that have came through England played in the same squad. I played with Kaylee Smith, Rachel Yankee, Alex Scott, some legends that are obviously in women's football in the UK. So that was amazing. But I think for me, the most important thing's always been playing. So that's kind of one of the reasons why.
And just to jump before your professional career, when did you realise you wanted to become a professional footballer, or did it just happen? And when did you really realise, I am a professional and now I only need to play football to earn my money?
Football's always been my biggest passion, but I never thought it would be my job or something that I wouldn't have to do another job to kind of allow me to do that, which I did for a long part at the start of my career. But it kind of became a realisation maybe when I started to play, when I got to about 19, 20, when every year we'd watch the FA Cup final on telly and it was always Arsenal women v someone. And I remember I had a conversation with my PE teacher, maybe was after a return from America, and she was like, what do you want to do with your football? And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, well, where do you want to go? And I was like, well, what? Arsenal was the team, that was the best team ever. And I was like, I'd love to play for Arsenal. That would be like a dream. And she was like, well, how do you want to get there? And I was like, well, what do you mean? And she was like, well, wait, what's your steps? And I was like, well, she's like, who are you playing for now? I was like, Celtic. And she was like, well, who's the best team in Scotland? And I was like, Glasgow City. And she went, well, you need to go and play for Glasgow City. And then when you go play for Glasgow City, there'll be a step somewhere else. And looking back on it now, I'm like, that's actually such amazing advice. You never just really think of the steps to get you to where you need to go. But ironically, Glasgow City played Arsenal in the Champions League, I think. Don't know if it was quarterfinals or last 32. And that was when I actually signed. It was after that we played them in the double fixture that we went. So it wasn't really until I kind of just leaving high school that I thought that could be a possibility. But I didn't think it would be in the UK. I thought it would always have been in abroad. I'd always wanted to play kind of in the German league or somewhere abroad. America was quite big at that point as well.
Playing abroad, is that still something on your mind?
I mean, I would be open to it at some point, I think, before I finish it. I think it would always be nice. I think in a double or triple side, it would be the opportunity to play somewhere different with maybe a nicer climate, a different style of football, a different style of
football. You're not enjoying the rain?
Oh, love the rain, especially February, January. It's the best.
You don't want to look outside here because you won't be coming to Germany anymore.
So I guess I always kind of did. I nearly signed in Spain between kind of signing for leaving Glasgow City and signing for Liverpool. And it just kind of never happened. And it was something that I always kind of liked. I like the style of play. But I think you never know with football. So I think in terms of just going into potentially coaching at some point, it could be nice to experience a different culture and just how they do things. So yeah, you don't know.
Where are you at with your coaching? I obviously know that you've got your own academy, you've been involved, but where are you with your coaching, and is that potentially what you want to do after? Because hopefully you'll still have a couple of years left. Absolutely.
I hope so. I feel it's closer than I think I would like to, but it will be coming
absolutely.
soon.
the way you take care of your body and your mind, Christie, you've got still a couple of years left. But at some point, is that something maybe you want to do?
Yeah, I feel fit and healthy, and I think I want to play football as I can. But obviously, the reality is that post football, it's important, and I think it's something that I've always kind of tried to prepare myself for. So when Anna was in, actually, it was must have been just after you came into the national team, and I offered us an opportunity to do or be licensed coaching. I'd done my level 1 and level 2 years before that, and I was like obviously quite an introverted person at times, and I was like, the thought of standing in front of people and telling them what to do is just not me, but I love football. So I just done it because it was out with my comfort zone, and I absolutely loved it. So I do think my future will be football. I don't know whether it'll be in coaching or management, but I think I just get such a huge passion and love for it that it's kind of nice to be able to give back as well.
Sophie just dropped a side note, and you need to tell us a little bit more about that. But what is it about this academy you're running?
Oh, so it's kind of like for young girls, locally wherever I'm at, where I'm between Liverpool or Birmingham, like both kind of cities. I kind of just offer small group one-to-ones, training, technical training, just refined in the small details that maybe they wouldn't have the opportunity to get with grassroots coaching. Obviously, we've played football for a very long time at a high level, and to be able to give back some of the kind of lessons that we've learned or small intricate details is something that I've obviously got a huge passion for. So I think long term it would be nice to be able to set up a proper academy, but whilst we're playing I do not have the time to do that or the capacity. So I think it would be nice to have something a little bit bigger, but for now it's nice to just make an impact even if it is small.
What was the reason for you setting it up? Because I remember having a long chat with my dad, and he said once, if I ever win the lottery, Ollie, I want to found a academy where we can train young players, because there's so much talent that goes missing. What was your reason for setting up this academy?
I think to give back. I think part of for me, I've obviously grown up with in grassroots football, and a lot of it is time spent by parents, and sometimes you only know what you know, right? We all know certain things, and I think when it comes to football, and I think to be able to have people that they can bounce off that have been it, said it, done it, I think is nice. So I think probably that's the main reason why I set it up.
I think that absolutely defines you, Christie, as a person and player, because for me, you're the ultimate team player, and I obviously know your career.
Yeah.
And it hasn't always gone your way.
Yeah.
So the question that comes up with listening to your years when you were training 4 evenings, going to school, doing the gym, how are you still going? Where do you get the drive and the motivation from? You've had a few injuries. How do you keep going?
I think it's just the love of it. I think if we don't love it, you're never going to sustain anything long term or have any sort of longevity in it. Passion, I was obviously very young as well, so I think when you're young and just hungry and you're trying to prove yourself, I think everyone's always trying to prove themselves, but I think just a drive to want to get better and enjoying it as well. I love what I do, so I think that's the main reason. Even for all the highs and lows that you get, I think you've got to still be able to enjoy part of the process and the journey of it.
What role did not only Megan, your new wife, but your family play in all this, in your career, in your journey, in your setbacks?
Oh, they were massive. I think they're the main ones that take the brunt of a lot of the tough times. But then also oppositely, they get to celebrate the good ones, going to the World Cup, being at the Euros. They're massive, but huge. They supported me in terms of just emotionally giving me advice, and then also financially being able to do it. I think when you go to university, we get a grant for living accommodation and stuff like that was paid for. But other than that, you've got to find your own way. But I remember going for a job once to work in a sports shop that I always bought my boots from. And the woman's like, well, what days suit you? And I'm like, I can't do Tuesday, I can't do Wednesday. Friday I'm training. Saturday I could probably do Saturday afternoon. I've got a game on Sunday. And she just looked at me and I was like, shall I just leave now? Shall I leave? Because I just couldn't do it. And I think you take for granted the little things. Well, it's a big thing as well financially. My parents were able to support me and allow me to follow it, maybe not knowing if anything was going to come from it. So I think so many different ways.
I think that's something we always tend to forget, and that's something you saw in Sophie's team when they were at Hoffenheim. The parents were driving the kids for hundreds and hundreds of kilometers each week, sometimes even in a day, to go and get them to the pitch. And I think it's a good time to say thank you to a lot of these parents and a lot of the family and a lot of the mentors. But I think I hear two things which actually made your career. One time, this commitment, and the PE teacher, I told you, think about where you want to go and you'll make it. And this mentorship, how important that is. We tend to forget sometimes. You only see like the end result of being a professional. Oh, Christie, she was always there. She was always professional. But it's interesting to see that you also had a really, really long and difficult way.
Yeah, and I think, like, obviously, in terms of just the word professional, I think it's easy to throw about just think it's money, but it's not. In my eyes, it's not. Like, you don't need to be a professional and get paid. Like, for most of our career, you'll be the same self. Like, you train every day, you eat right, you sleep the right amount of times, you're making sure that you get time off your feet, you're doing everything, trying to find every 0.5% that's going to make you better. You don't getting paid, that's not professional, it's a mindset and it's a way of living. So I think
it's a lifestyle.
I think I don't know, it gets thrown about now, no, you're a professional footballer. Yeah, I am, but I have been for even when I didn't get paid for it, much like you were as well. So,
and also you worked damn hard for that.
Yeah.
Even before a penny was even in the picture.
Yeah.
Your mindset was professional before you called yourself a professional in terms of you were being paid for what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I just go back to like the academy days, because there was so many of the girls that are playing in the national team or have done that we all grew up together. Do you know what I mean? At the academy and made so many amazing memories. But there would be mornings where we'd be like, the coach would sometimes go, right, so we're going to take your own training. We would design our own training sessions. Turn up at 7 o'clock in the morning and just go, and they would split into groups and we'd be like, I think it would be me, Jane, Lisa, Evans, we'd have Lee in goals, Mitchie would be away with Ellis doing 1v1 defending. Like, there was so many like of us that just like coached each other as well, and that is like that is unique, and not every young players think like that or work like that and are that kind of focused. And I think just that, for me, I have so many good memories from it. It was very challenging, but like you look back and you go, that was the making of like a lot of us.
And I often say to Ollie, like, that is the generation that started because I loved the game. And if you didn't love it the way you did, none of us would go through that. You wouldn't stand up or get up at 6, 7 a.m. to do a session if you didn't love it.
No, not at all.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. And I think I remember as well one morning, so obviously we'd be on the pitch to start at 7, so we'd have to get up early, have breakfast, and I woke up one day and I was like, oh God, it's really quiet. I must have slept in. Didn't check my watch. Went down, ate my Weetabix, went down to the pitch. It was 4:30 in the morning. I didn't check I was that like disorientated with timings and everything. And then I got back to, I went, oh my God. I was like, I've actually not even slept to my alarm. I've ate my food, went out to the pitch, and I was like, it's bloody 4:30 in the morning.
Christie was ready at all times. You know, actually, my favourite moment from Camp Ollie is when Christie does story time and she tells me about like all these stories that she had in the academy. I absolutely love these days, don't I, Christie? I always say, give me more stories, give me more stories.
Let's have a bit of a storytelling time now.
Please.
Then, can you give us maybe your favourite moment in academy or in your career?
In the academy, we had some funny ones, just like that were just there was one morning, it was like really rainy and dark, again 7 o'clock in the morning. We started doing our warm-up jogging, and I was like, what? Somebody was like, what's that coming out? It was Frankie Brown. I was like, what's that hanging out the back of her waterproof? Our knickers. So I was like running about, and that just like, we were just actually,
oh my God,
just so light-hearted and fun. But you just look back and go, that was just us. It's just a small one. Sorry, Frankie, I don't want to out you with your knickers out.
Absolute carnage, you guys. What is your favourite footballing moment? Do you have one?
I think there's loads for different reasons. I think going to the World Cup and starting in the game in France was probably the highlight for sure.
The England game.
Yeah, because I think like looking back when we were coming through the Scotland youth teams, we used to have diaries, and they used to always make us write down things we did in the session or whatever. I've still got them at home. And it would be like, make a major tournament with Scotland, and it would be written down and it would be there, and I could go back and look at them and find them. So like, it was nice to finally achieve that and have my family with us as well. So that was really cool.
When were you told? When were you told that you're going to play?
The night before.
How were you feeling?
Which was unusual. Or how was I feeling? I was so nervous. Sophie, I don't even think you know this. So you had went to get treatment the day of the game, and I'm so glad that we found out the starting 11, because I was like, you know, it's just such a big moment. It's probably one of the biggest ones for like Scotland's women's football. And you had went to get treatment. It was not long before we had to leave. I literally lay on the floor and started meditating to try and calm myself down. And I was like, if Sophie walks in right now, she's going to think, what the hell? And do you know what? It was the best thing that I did, because it calmed me down. But I was like so nervous. So nervous.
I still remember the times when we shared, like from day one, pretty much we were roomies, weren't we, for many, many years until COVID hit, and we then got our own rooms.
Yeah, but I think it was nice. Like, we obviously got to know each other and obviously develop a really strong friendship. So I'm very grateful for it.
Well, the one thing I did learn is that the room has to be completely dark so Christie can sleep. So when I used to shut the curtains and there was a little gap, she used to get out of bed to close it properly.
So sorry.
And I also remember, I think Dad only rang me to speak to you, Christie, because every time he rang me, he goes, "How's Christie doing?" So I just used to pass the phone on. Here you go.
We'd have a little chat before, and then
they're good times, those were. Absolutely loved them.
But listening to those times, it shows how important it is to be able to enjoy these moments with someone else. Now, you're talking about it and joking about it, but it would have been totally different if you were sent to your rooms by yourself and you're sitting there talking to family or talking to friends or scrolling on your phone, and then being able to enjoy these moments together. World Cup, European Championship, that's half of the fun, isn't it?
It's a massive part of it, because the hard bits is going, well, not the hard bit, but it's like getting into the team. That's the hard bit, because that's out of your control. But all the other stuff, like the bond that you make with your teammates, like the people that dig you out of your like hard times and that are there to lend a comforting ear when you're maybe struggling, or to be there to be a supporter if you're playing. Like, I think all those things are so underrated, and just being able to share the journey as well, I think is with your friends is really nice.
We talk about feedback a lot. Do you also give each other feedback when you're in a room, like, "Oh, you played crap today," or "You did this wrong," or "You did this really good"?
No, we did. It wouldn't be this was crap. It would be, maybe think about this. I think like when you're in such a competitive environment, I think obviously having people that you trust and value their opinion and know that it's coming from a good place. I think Soph's always been one of the people that's kind of gave me that. And I think sometimes when you maybe second guess yourself, or just to hear someone else's opinion again that you value is so good, because they're just a different perspective. Because you can be in your head sometimes and you can be thinking, "Oh, I actually didn't do that well today," or "Maybe should have done this better." And then they'll come in and go, "Oh, you trained well today." And I'm like, "Oh," because you know you've got that inner critic that constantly is wanting to get better and see kind of small improvements, but having somebody there just to kind of give you that reassurance is nice.
I absolutely agree. I think we 100% had one another's backs, but we certainly also, and it wasn't criticism, it was more solution finding, because I still hear every time I step in with the ball, Christie, I hear your voice saying calm.
Yeah.
Because you've done this from day one. Every time I step in, it's calm, Soph, calm.
Yeah.
And that's still what I hear. And that was Christie's constant feedback in every single session. And it's still sticking with me now.
That's
which
good.
is quite remarkable, really. Yeah.
I should take some of my own advice, I think.
I think when we talk about the England game in the World Cup, I think the special thing about that one, Christie, was that I could literally share that with you in a sense of you were there with me from day one. And actually, when we were singing the anthem and looking towards our families in the stands, we were standing next to one another. Because at that point, I had number 15, you had number 16.
Yeah.
And I still remember grabbing you really tightly and being like, "This is the moment, Christie." And we'd pretty much worked towards that moment together, because we, in the Euros, neither of us got game time. And it was a very tough Euros for both of us. And for you, especially, like, I remember the situation where you went to come on and you never did. And despite all that, you're a massive team player. And I think that is what makes you you. And I know you don't like these moments because you don't like praise and you don't like to be in the spotlight. But absolutely, that is what makes you you. And that is why you can, year after year, perform to the highest level, because your mindset is absolutely professional.
Yeah, I think that's just the beauty of like team sport, isn't it? Like, I think sometimes it's hard when you're not selected, and I think sometimes you feel maybe hard done by or whatever, but actually it is out of your control. So the only thing that you can do is make sure that you give people what you would hope to receive in return at some point when you're the one that's selected. And that's something you can control. So yeah, I appreciate that.
Control the controllables.
Yeah, exactly.
And everything else, don't
You
really
two are
worry
so
about
similar.
it. We're just talking now. It's really interesting because I'm learning a lot. But you've achieved so much in your career already. You've been at the Euros, you've been at the World Cup, you've played in the Champions League. Is there anything you still want to achieve besides maybe playing in a different country?
I think for me, like, obviously with Birmingham, we didn't get promotion this year. I think that's a massive one. I think to play in the WSL again would be huge, and I think to get the club back to the league that obviously it's got a rich history in the women's game, to be able to be part of that would be amazing. Obviously continue getting selected or be selected again for the national team. It was nice to be back in after a year. So I think for those two are probably the main ones at the moment. And continue just obviously being fit and healthy, because that ultimately allows me to be obviously available for selection at the play. So just enjoy playing football. That's the biggest thing for me at the moment.
Talk us through the moment you got the phone call that you're back in the squad. Because I can give you my emotions, and they were very, very high. But how were your emotions?
Well, I actually didn't. I didn't get the phone call. Well, I got a phone call, but I missed the phone call. Pedro phoned me at the kick-off time when we played Charlton. So I didn't get, but I got a text. So and then Lisa had texted me as well to arrange like the travel. So I actually didn't officially get the call, but I did. So, but regardless, I was buzzing. We were heading back to London. I was actually supposed to be going to Albania with Scotland under 19s to coach as the third coach, and I was heading to London to stay overnight after my match to then fly to Albania. So I stayed in London, but I flew obviously to meet up with the national team. So that was amazing.
So another side note, training the Scotland under 19s. For someone who said at the beginning of this podcast that you don't see yourself as someone who likes telling people what to do and coaching, you're doing a lot of coaching, aren't you?
I think that's changed over time.
Okay.
That's changed over time. It's changed from starting to do my B licence and slowly but surely kind of coming out my comfort zone and being able to share. And I've also always still learning as I play. So what I learn, I obviously want to kind of share with other people. But yeah, I think I'm obviously very grateful to be given the opportunity to, when I can, go away with the national team. My club's been supportive of it. And I was actually really looking forward to it because I was going to get more opportunities to coach. But I think opportunities with the national team are very obviously special. So it's one I couldn't obviously turn down. So
it's a unique situation to be coaching when you're still playing. Do you still learn a lot of new stuff when watching a game from the outside, and that you can then use in your game when you're back on the pitch?
Yeah, I think that's the one thing that I do like to try and see, because I think obviously young players play with so much freedom and they're not scared, they're just braver. I think the older you get, you almost kind of not become safer, but there's that element of like understanding the game deeper, and there's so much more to it, when actually when you watch some of the younger players play, they just play. They've got like that just sense of like freedom. When you watch them, you go, I love how she did that, or I love how he did that, and I'm going to try that the next time, because it's just instinctual sometimes. Sometimes it's just not coached, it's been in the moment and watching and seeing how players move as well and get out of situations. It's, I definitely still learning.
Do you think being professional, playing for money and having this competitiveness, you lose that type of enjoyment, not enjoyment for football, but this freedom and enjoyment of playing and not being scared of making mistakes?
I think that there is definitely an element of that. I think it's obviously something that is a privilege as well, because you're then playing at the highest level. But being able to deal with that is a different challenge in itself. Some of my best memories are still when I played football in the park with my friends at under 12s or under 13s, when we were playing with nothing, and just I think like there is that element of it that is, it's different because you're playing to win. You're being paid to do that job. It's kind of almost like a contradiction. It's your passion, but then also you're expected to perform. And sometimes as humans, we make mistakes, we go out of form, and it's then also being able to deal with that side of it or just don't get selected, and that's just kind of different. Whereas like when you play for the love of it, you don't really care about anything else other than just playing. I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer.
How do you deal with that? How do you deal with potentially not getting selected? How do you deal with a dip in performance?
I think the not getting selected is difficult because it just really depends on somebody's opinion of you, and that's difficult because from the outside you might be training really well, but for some reason there's obviously a reason that the manager might not select you to play, or someone else is playing just as well. I think obviously having honest conversations and getting feedback are huge, because as long as you know where you stand with the manager and the feedback is like genuine and constructive, I think you've got a place to work from and a platform to then go and work on something and come back with. If that's not the case, that's quite challenging. And I think dipping form, I would say just keep training. I think eventually it will figure itself out. I think the minute you stop us, it's like, well, you can't stop. You don't want to give up on it. Do you know what I mean? So you just figure out a way. You just work hard. I think sometimes when you work hard, you actually kind of start to figure it out along the way. So I think probably those are the two kind of ways that I would say I would choose.
Was there ever a moment you wanted to give up?
Probably quite a few, I'm not going to lie to you. I couldn't tell you for certain, but I think just obviously for different reasons, challenges at the club, maybe not playing. And I think I think it's just when there's obviously other kind of pressures wanting to play for the national team and maybe not playing regular like the club, they kind of moments are different. I don't really think I would ever stop playing for that reason. It would be because I feel like I'm ready to go on to something different. I think there's been moments that have been really difficult, but I don't really think there's been a time where I'm just like, right, I'm done just because of that. It would need to be for an injury or something that just to move on to a different part of my life.
But that again is because you have this deep love for the game.
Yeah.
I heard an interesting advice. I don't know what you think about it, you two, but I heard someone say once, he said, you can give up the sport, but don't give it up in a moment where you're feeling bad. Give up when you're on a high, because you won't want to be giving up anymore.
Absolutely.
So wise.
It's also then probably you feel better being able to walk away from it, knowing that it's like you're not bitter. I think like that's all.
And not regretting it.
Yeah.
After everything, Christie, don't know how much you can share. What's next for you? What is post-summer looking like? What is post-summer in a year looking like? Can you share? Are you allowed to share?
What do you mean? Sorry, do you just mean like
Football-wise?
Football?
Aye.
I'm still in contract with Birmingham, so I'll still be here. So I'll be training. Be training through the summer. I've had like nearly a week off, which has been nice, just doing absolutely nothing. And probably as of tomorrow, I'll start going back to the gym just because I feel better when I go.
You cannot stop.
No, I can't. I think I've got so much energy. So see, when I don't go to the gym, I just feel like sluggish. So it's more just for me, not for performance or anything. But slowly but surely I'll start to build into like building some good strength and fitness before I go into pre-season.
Probably also doesn't help that Megan's into the gym as well massively.
Yeah, so it's her birthday. It's her 30th birthday the weekend. Sophie's coming through for a party and I know on Friday. Sorry, Saturday. Our birthday's actually on Friday. So
gosh, I was just gonna say on Friday, Christie.
Don't worry. So I was like, so what our mum was like, what do you want to do like in the day? So we're going for dinner in the evening. And she went, I would quite like to do a Barry's boot camp. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's like hell. So I looked at it and I went, I'm on my holidays and you're making me go to this hour and a bit of like, honestly, it's so hard. And I was like, what have you turned
married
into?
Her, Christie?
What have you turned into? I was like, who are you?
You can't walk away anymore.
So there's no hiding. I'll be doing Barry's boot camp on Friday morning.
Oh, well, that's good though. Then you can go party on Saturday, can't you?
Exactly.
Earn the party.
Absolutely.
So to wrap it up then, Christie, Soph asked you what's next, but what I would like is maybe, because you've had this hard career and you've had the ups and downs, what would your advice be for young talents trying to become professional, making it about earning the money or playing professional and having the mindset? What would your advice be to all the young boys and girls listening to the podcast?
I think do more than what you think's expected of you. I think that already puts you ahead. I don't know if you've heard like the quote, like Kobe Bryant, and like he just would wake up early, and by the time he hit 4 or 5, whatever 10 years, he'd already made 2 or 3 years ahead of everyone else. And I think like as a young footballer, growing up for me anyway, I was always out in the street playing football constantly. I was practicing kick-ups, like working on my first touch, like things that people can't take away from you but also make you. And I think getting a good mentor or coach that you can run off or like bounce off and get like honest feedback, because I think like having somebody that's going to tell you that you're great all the time isn't going to help you. I think it's important. I think it's important to get like good feedback, but I think to have something that you can work with and improve on, I think is huge. So I think do more and have people that can give you good honest feedback.
It's interesting how similar your mentality is to Sophie's mentality. It's just, it seems like you need to have this mindset or very similar mindset to be able to get where you want to be.
You need to be obsessed. There's that. It's like you need to be obsessed with it. Like otherwise you'll never make it. I think when you get to tough moments, you need to absolutely love what you do and know that at some point there is going to be tough moments. Life is hard. And whatever you could do, whatever profession or journey that you want to go, there's never going to be just easy moments. The tough ones will absolutely make you. And I think like knowing that in the moment, and don't get me wrong, I've had some lows and stuff like that, but I think like figuring a way out also gives you so much strength. So I think as a young footballer, don't be disheartened if you've been knocked back or not selected or told that you're too small or not fast enough or not fit enough looking, whatever it is. Like there's always solutions and there's always people to prove wrong. So I think as young players, you've got an amazing potential and so much time that you could make it really good. So I think it's up to you really. It's in your own hands, and if you're passionate about something and want it, you can grab it.
I knew why I was excited for this chat. I knew it.
And I agree, Soph. It's been a really lovely chat. So much to take away from, so much to think about. So thank you very much also from my side for coming on the podcast, for sharing your insights. It's been great fun. Thank you.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
For me, Christie, as well, massive thank you. But I'll see you on Saturday so I can give you a little cuddle. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you have any questions for Christie, send them in. We'll pass them on. Take care everyone, and we'll see you next week.